As Finbar said, yes, my name is Blofeld and I work for Lancashire Care Trust. My role within the I'm sorry. Shall I start again? Is that better? I'm not a professional at this, so I do apologise. As Finbar said, my name is Blofeld and I work for Lancashire Care Trust. My role within the Trust is to work with our patients and their relatives and to find out about their experience when they're receiving services from ourselves. I've come along here today to share with you a very special journey. A journey that involves a lady called Pamela Bay. What makes it so special is Pamela has got dementia. However, it doesn't stop her from volunteering, and I wanted her to share with you her experience. I was hoping that Pamela would be here with me today. Unfortunately for me, she's on holiday. She's actually in Skegness having fish and chips. So what we've done is we came up with a plan on how best to manage today. And what Pamela's done is she's written a video letter to yourselves. Before we get to the video letter, I thought it might be helpful if I give you a little bit about the background. So where did our journey begin? As you can see, yes, we'd recognised NICE guidance and we knew about the quality standard. But the important part for us was the day that we sat down with our patients and we asked them a question about what is it that they want us to do differently. We met with a group of patients in our memory assessment clinic and one gentleman actually said, "It'd be nice to have somebody sat with me here while I'm waiting. Somebody like my wife, because my wife knows what it's like while I'm waiting for my name to be called." And I think this sort of planted a seed and it started to make us think about what we needed to do differently with those people when they come to our memory assessment clinic. So what I'd like to do is to take you to the first circle. What I needed to do was to bring together a group of people that I knew could help me develop this role. It was important for me to bring together the Alzheimer's Society. It was important for me to sit down with the service users and carers. And it was important for me to bring together our occupational health consultant. The reason I needed those people to work with me was we knew we'd got a trust volunteering service. And what we wanted to do was to appoint to that post just like we would to anybody else's role. I wanted the Alzheimer's Society involved because the main criteria for this role was someone that had experience of dementia. And I knew that they could help and support, not just with the development, not just with the design of the role, but with the development afterwards when we're looking at support for this individual. I also wanted to bring together our occupational health consultant because you could imagine his face when he saw her medical screening. I know when Pamela wrote it out, she was rather concerned about it, but she'd no need to bother because they were fine, they were great. This sort of brought us on to the second circle, and this for me is when it became exciting, it became real. I knew we were really achieving and we were moving things forward. I'd been out and I'd spoken to many of our services, and I'd actually found a service in Lancaster who were very keen and excited to pilot this position. Within the team, I'd also found a workplace buddy who was in the clerical side of the team, and that was important as well because what we wanted to do was to take it away from that clinical area. I wanted Pam to come to work that day and feel she was coming to work. And if she wasn't well, she could go home like everybody else. And if she needed the support from the team, she could go and see the consultant. We also involved a workplace diary. And again, that was an important piece of material. Because as you can imagine, Pam had spent her day working with other people, and then when I met up with her, she'd forgotten. And she used to say to me, "It's my condition. I've got a condition. I can't remember." But we could go back in her diary and we could trace her steps. And then on October the 1st, 2011, we appointed Pam to her post. And what I'd like to do now is to hand you over to Pamela.
Hi everybody, sorry I can't be there today. You may be aware I have vascular dementia. What you don't know are the events leading up to my diagnosis in 2010 and what happened after that. It started when I was 54 years old. I'd been on holiday and on my arrival back at Manchester Airport, I had a massive heart attack and died. Luckily for me, my husband was an ambulance man and he started resuscitation on me until help had arrived. I was taken to Wythenshawe Hospital where they worked on me for 3 hours and then I was transferred to Bolton Hospital. I was in a coma. When I woke up, I was very scared and didn't know what had happened to me. I couldn't even remember my holiday. On my return home, I had another heart attack and was taken to Blackpool, Victoria, where I spent another 7 weeks waiting for a coronary heart bypass. While recovering from all of this, it was like my whole body had broken down and everything seemed to be going wrong. By this time, I was starting to forget things and places, and I was very anxious, so I went to see my doctor. I told him I kept forgetting things, and because he knew my history well, he referred me to the memory clinic. But because of my age, they may not see me, but they did. After being referred to the memory clinic and numerous tests and scans later, I was diagnosed. They must be mistaken. I didn't believe it. Vascular dementia? What's that? Oh God, have I got senile dementia? What will happen to me now? It felt like my whole world had just collapsed around me. It was awful. What else did I have to endure? Surely I'd been through enough. I remember how wonderful and kind everyone at the memory clinic were with me. Before I left, they gave me lots of helpful and supportive information about my illness and the Alzheimer's Society. They suggested I took it home to read with my husband, but I was free to give them a call any time I needed to. A few days later, one of the nurses contacted me about a post-diagnostic and memory management course. She asked if I would be interested in attending. I was unsure but went along and was really glad that I went. The course was for 1 day a week for 6 weeks, which I found very informative. It explained my diagnosis and what help and support was out there for me. I also learnt how my memory works, common features people with memory problems share, as well as common difficulties like remembering names and events. I learnt how to make the most of my memory and how repetition is not the most helpful thing, but by controlling emotions this helps. So when I get frustrated, I've learnt not to be too hard on myself. I also find it helps talking to other people about my condition and hearing about theirs, their worries and what they do to cope. We also talked about memory aids. I have a set routine now and I also have to write everything down. It was at the end of the course that the Alzheimer's worker introduced me to Jo, who told me about the meet and greet volunteering post that was coming up and asked if I would be interested, and the rest is history, so they say. I do know if I hadn't had said yes that day, everything in my life could have gone the other way. Before I started this role, I went along to meet the team at the clinic, just to say hello. They were all very friendly and soon made me feel comfortable and at ease. One of the team became my buddy, and Jo facilitated my supervision sessions, starting weekly and then monthly. She also got me to complete a daily diary, writing everything down that I had done on my volunteering days. This helped me to remember when we talked. I must say the whole team at the memory clinic made me feel like I was one of them and not just someone who had dementia. My first day volunteering arrived and I was nervous, but I got through it and thoroughly enjoyed myself. I also felt that I had something really wonderful that day. No scrap heap for me then. One door had shut and another had opened. This was an opportunity for me to prove to myself and others that I was not as useless as I felt. I still had something to offer. So what is my role? I meet and greet patients and their relatives on arrival at the clinic, chat to them and offer them a drink, and just try and make them comfortable. I always remember how I felt when I was diagnosed, and this is what I draw on to help others. Just being there when people walk into clinic really helps. I wish there had been someone there for me when I was diagnosed. People are always surprised when I tell them I have dementia. We've received a lot of positive feedback from both patients and their families. Since starting my role, this has given me my life back. I've won an award for volunteering excellence, passed an MVQ course in volunteering, and most recently I've completed a 10-week mentoring course, and I have my first mentee next week. Everything I've achieved has been good for my morale, confidence and self-esteem. It has proved to me we all have a purpose, no matter what life wants to throw at us. Well everyone, this has been my story so far, and I truly believe that there is a life after a diagnosis. Thank you all for listening. Pam.
So that was Pam. What an inspiration. I get emotional. Before I finish, I'd just like to say how proud I feel of you today to presenting this forum. And I'd just like to leave you with some hot tips. It's really important to identify and engage with a variety of stakeholders right from the beginning. It's also important to secure some funds to make sure that our volunteers and services and carers, when they're involved in any piece of work, are not out of pocket. It's very important to support and encourage our volunteers' development. As I have said earlier, we identified a workplace buddy. They get on fabulous. Setting up regular supervision sessions and the use of the daily diary. And I think the other thing is to celebrate your work and your volunteers' achievement. And on that note, I'd just like to say thank you.